I still remember the way the light fell across his desk that first evening, the shadows stretching long over the polished wood as he leaned closer to explain something on a report I had barely even read. My boss, Daniel, had a way of making every word sound like it was meant only for you, as if the office full of people outside his door simply ceased to exist when he spoke. I was married then, newly so, still learning the fragile balance of compromise, devotion, and the constant tug of expectations. My husband, Imran, was a kind man, gentle in spirit, and steady in his loyalty. He gave me security, a warm home, and the comfort of knowing I was cherished. Yet, in that office, in the stillness of late evenings, I felt something stir inside me that I hadn't even known was missing. It began innocently, as most forbidden stories do. A smile that lingered a second longer than it should, a hand brushing mine as he passed me a file, a joke whispered across the desk that made me laugh far too easily. I told myself it was nothing, that I was simply flattered by the attention of a man who carried himself with such effortless confidence. But each evening that I stayed behind to finish paperwork, I found myself drawn deeper into his orbit. His cologne would linger in the air, faint but intoxicating, and when he stood too close, I felt my pulse race in ways that made me ashamed. The first time he kissed me, I told myself it was a mistake. I had dropped a stack of papers. He bent to help. Our hands collided, and when I looked up, his face was just there, too close, too intense. His lips brushed mine before I even realized what was happening. My breath caught, my heart hammered, and instead of pulling away, I let it happen. It was just a kiss, I thought. Just one. But even then, in the smallest corners of my conscience, I knew a single kiss was never just a kiss. Weeks turned into months, and the secret between us grew heavier with every stolen glance, every hurried meeting in the dim office when the rest of the world had gone home. Daniel had a way of making me feel alive, as if I were the heroine of some great love story instead of a wife betraying her vows. He whispered things that made me shiver, touched me in ways that set fire to parts of me I had kept hidden, and looked at me as if I were the only woman in existence. I loved Imran, God knows I did, but the intoxicating pull of Daniel's presence consumed me in a way I couldn't resist. But secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, have a way of slipping through the cracks. Imran noticed, of course. He wasn't blind. He saw the way I lingered at the office, the way I avoided his questions, the way my eyes sometimes drifted elsewhere when he tried to hold my gaze. One evening, I came home to find him sitting in the living room, my phone in his hand. He had seen the messages, the words I had tried to delete, the conversations that betrayed me. His face was pale, his eyes dark with something deeper than anger. "Is it true?" he asked quietly, his voice trembling in the stillness. "Are you in love with him?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. Silence was an answer, and we both knew it. The weeks that followed were filled with tears, apologies, and nights spent in separate rooms. Imran tried to forgive me, I think. He clung to the remnants of us, begged me to end it, and for a while I did. I told Daniel we couldn't continue, that my marriage was crumbling beneath the weight of our choices. But love, or lust, or whatever tangled thing it was between us, doesn't let go easily. We slipped back, again and again, until the truth became undeniable. Imran finally walked out one cold night, his eyes hollow, his voice breaking as he said, "I can't live with a ghost of the woman I loved." For months afterward, I felt as if I were floating through a haze. Daniel was there, of course, but the thrill of our affair dulled under the weight of reality. He was not my savior, not the answer to the loneliness that had crept into my marriage. He was simply a man who had awakened something in me, and when the dust settled, I realized I had lost more than I had ever imagined. My husband was gone, my marriage destroyed, and the warmth of the life I had built lay in ashes around me. Time, they say, heals all wounds. But some wounds don't close. They scar, leaving marks you carry forever. 8 years passed. 8 long years of learning how to live with my choices, how to build a life again from the ruins. Daniel eventually drifted away. Our passion couldn't survive the harsh light of ordinary days. He moved on, perhaps to someone else, perhaps to another life entirely. I rarely thought of him with longing anymore, only with the sharp ache of what I had allowed myself to lose. I built a career, bought a small apartment, and learned how to smile again. I told myself I had accepted the consequences, that I had learned my lesson. But the past has a cruel way of circling back when you least expect it. It happened on a rainy afternoon, the kind where the sky seems to press down on the earth with heavy gray hands. I was leaving a cafe when I saw him, Imran, standing under the awning across the street, an umbrella tilted against the wind. My breath caught, and for a moment, I thought I had conjured him out of memory. He looked older, of course. There were faint lines around his eyes, streaks of silver in his hair. But he was still him, still the man whose arms had once been my home. Our eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the world dissolved. I wanted to run, to hide, to escape the weight of his gaze. But instead, he crossed the street, his umbrella forgotten, rain soaking his shoulders as he came to stand before me. 8 years, he said softly, his voice the same and yet different. 8 years, and I still remember the sound of your laugh. Tears burned my eyes before I could stop them. Imran, He held up a hand, silencing me. Don't. I didn't come here for apologies. I came because there's something you should know. My heart pounded as he told me. After he left, he had wandered through a darkness I couldn't imagine. But then, he found light again. A woman named Aisha had entered his life, patient, kind, willing to heal the broken pieces of him. They had married, he said, and for the first time, he felt at peace. But that wasn't the shocking truth. The truth was this: despite everything, despite rebuilding his life, despite loving again, he had never stopped loving me. I hated you, he admitted, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I hated what you did to us. But love doesn't die so easily. It stays, buried maybe, but alive. I love my wife, I do. But a part of me will always belong to you. The weight of his words crushed me. 8 years of regret came crashing down, mingling with the bittersweet ache of knowing he still carried me inside him. I wanted to reach for him, to beg for a second chance, but I knew it was impossible. He had built a new life, one I had no right to steal. So I smiled through my tears and whispered, I'll carry you too, Imran. Always. And then he walked away, back into the rain, leaving me with the knowledge that forbidden love leaves marks no time can erase. The affair with my boss had given me passion, yes, but it had cost me the love of a man whose heart had been pure, steady and true. Because some stories don't end with happily ever after. Some end with a whispered promise, carried in the heart forever, that love, no matter how broken, never truly dies.